Hey guys, how's it going? This is Sir Jedi Sentinel bringing you another Sentinel vlog. Real quick, I'd like to apologize for the lighting. It's raining today, it's very overcast, so normally I draw a curtain over my window to give me a little bit better lighting, but with how gray it is today, it's too dark. So hopefully what I have right now set up works, but if it doesn't, again, I apologize. With that out of the way, I'd like to start on my next vlog, which will be, if I can grab it, a Big Finish unboxing. Now, as I've said in some of my previous vlogs, I love Big Finish. I think it's my favorite form of Doctor Who. Totally blanking. But yeah, over the past 2 months, I bought a few things and I saved it up to unbox before you. I just thought it would be fun to share and talk about it. So let me grab it one more time. I have it set up in the order I'm going to open them in. I'm going to start with the smallest package first and then open the biggest one last. And I'm going to talk a little bit about what I've got. Really, there's nothing more to do, so let's start. But before we begin, I want to share something else I got. I got this, it's March now, I got this last month, but I already opened it because there was something else in it, something not related to this. I got Jubilee. Jubilee is a Sixth Doctor story written by Robert Shearman, who is currently tied for one of my favorite writers in all of Doctor Who. He's currently tied with Robert Holmes, who wrote some of my favorite stories for the classic series, including my favorite story in all of Doctor Who, The Deadly Assassin. Shearman wrote 7 stories for Doctor Who, and they've all been amazing. Like, I think Jubilee might be my favorite. I'm not sure. But, yeah, it's one of my favorite Sixth Doctor stories, and it's one of the main reasons why the Sixth Doctor is my favorite Doctor and Evelyn is my favorite companion. Anyway, before I started, I just wanted to share that with you. So let's get into the unboxing. And actually, even though I said I'm going to start with the smallest and move on to the biggest packages, I'm going to open this one first, mainly because I didn't get it from Big Finish. I got it from eBay, and I will talk about that in a second. I'm just cutting the tape open. Oops, missed it there. All right. I have no idea how this is sealed. Oh, there we go, got it. And this is I, Davros. Now, I, Davros is one of Big Finish's many spin-off series from Doctor Who. As the series denotes, I, Davros is about Davros, the creator of the Daleks. The story talks about Davros's life, his rise to power, and ultimately his creation of the Daleks. And if I remember right, I believe it leads right up to the beginning of Genesis of the Daleks. In this series, Davros is played by Terry Malloy, which throughout Doctor Who, of the 4 actors who have played him, Terry Malloy is my favorite. It's a 4-part series, which includes Part 1, Innocence, Part 2, Purity, Part 3, Corruption, and Part 4, Guilt. Now, the reason I bought this on eBay was because one morning I logged into Big Finish to see what the news was going on, and they'd moved a bunch of their stuff to clearance to discontinue selling of CDs. I, Davros was one of those. When I saw that, I went, oh, sweet, everyone's been saying I should check out I, Davros, so I thought this would be the time to get the series. And by the time I got there, all the CDs had been sold out. So I went to eBay, hoping to find some CDs still relatively cheap before the price started going up because, again, they were discontinued. And I found a seller that had the complete series. I haven't listened to this yet, but I'm really looking forward to it. As soon as I finish what I'm listening to right now and what I have planned to listen to next, I will get into that. I may even do a review of it for my channel. We'll see how it goes. Alright, so this guy is next, and just gonna get right into it. So the first thing that I've got here is Vortex magazine. Vortex is Big Finish's magazine. It talks about the stories it's releasing and going on and coming soon, and some of the interviews with the crew at Big Finish. And this one is advertising the Churchill Years, Volume 2, another Doctor Who spinoff, and on the back, Gallifrey Time War, which a lot of people have been really interested in because it's me too, but I haven't listened to the Gallifrey series, but I think that one would be interesting to see how some of the other Time Lords who aren't the Doctor interact to the Time War. And also in that package was the CDs. I just have to open these too. Alright, so first we have Arrangements for War, another Sixth Doctor audio. Actually, this one, from what I've seen, Arrangements for War is Evelyn's final story as a companion. For anyone who I've talked to, I've talked about this a lot, especially in my top 10 favorite companions video. Evelyn Smythe is my favorite companion. I'm making it my goal to get all the Evelyn stories either on CD or download. So anyway, what I do know about this is up to a point, Big Finish told the Sixth Doctor and Evelyn stories chronologically up to Arrangements for War, which is when Evelyn leaves the TARDIS. And then they released a few more stories sort of out of sequence, and then they did 2 more stories after Evelyn left the TARDIS and the Doctor came back and visited her, which leads me actually to my next CD that was in this package, A Death in the Family. This one is a 7th Doctor story, and I don't know anything about it other than it's Evelyn's final story, period. I'm not sure what I'm going to think about it. I've heard people say it's good, but when it comes to the audios, I'm not that interested in the 7th Doctor, if I'm being honest. I do like him. I think he's a great Doctor. I think they're all great Doctors. But it's just... And he has good stories. He has stories I like. Master, The Fires of Vulcan, Harvest of the Sycorax. But it's just... I don't have the same interest in the 7th Doctor as I do the 5th, 6th, and 8th Doctors for Big Finish. But again, if I hear a good story, if I get to see something that interests me, I will check it out. So we're on to this one now. So I'm just gonna open it and alright, there's 3 CDs here. I'm going to set 2 of them aside to talk about later. Yes, this big one is going to be the last one I open it, but it's not going to be the last one I talk about, and we'll get to that. This is The Maltese Penguin. The Maltese Penguin was a bonus release. It was also written by Rob Shearman, who I talked about when I showed you guys Jubilee. He wrote a story called The Holy Terror, another great 6th Doctor story, in which he traveled with Frobisher. Frobisher was actually a companion to the 6th Doctor from the comics. He is a shapeshifter who often takes the form of a penguin. Yes, it sounds ridiculous, but Frobisher is actually really awesome. And after listening to and thoroughly enjoying The Holy Terror, I thought I'd check out The Maltese Penguin, because it's a story about Frobisher, and it was a fun story. I've already listened to it because I had the download, if you have a Big Finish account, which is free unless you're a subscriber, but I'm not, so it's free. When you buy a CD, you automatically get the download to listen to immediately. So there was that. But yeah, the Maltese Penguin. Really fun story. All right, next one. Didn't see the... These ones don't have the vortex like the other ones did. Oh well. Two more, another 3-pack of CDs. Two more I'm gonna talk about when I talk about that at the end. And this one is The 7 Keys to Doomsday. Now, there have been, over the course of Doctor Who, there have been 4 stage plays produced. In the 60s, there was Curse of the Daleks. In the 70s, there was 7 Keys to Doomsday. In the 80s, there was The Ultimate Adventure. And then, I don't remember when it originally came out, but then there was The Trial of Davros. Anyway, I already have The Ultimate Adventure. I've listened to it. I've enjoyed it. But I just thought I'd check out 7 Keys to Doomsday, in which, the Doctor faces the Daleks. Pretty standard story, but it's a good story. And in it, the Doctor is played by Trevor Martin. This play came out originally before Tom Baker was cast as the 4th Doctor. So the play kind of went off the idea that John Pertwee was still the 3rd Doctor, and then Trevor Martin regenerated into the 4th Doctor. I do like Martin's take on the Doctor. It's kind of fun, and that's what I can say about all I can really say about the 7 Keys to Doomsday. It's kind of fun. Now, this guy. There it is. There's another vortex talking about the Churchill years and Gallifrey Time War. Now, that project at the end that I've been talking about, all of these CDs are part of that. So I'm going to set these aside and talk about them at the end, which now brings us to the big guy. This may take a second. There it is. Just going to cut the tape. More tape to cut. That should do it. All right, and this is the War Doctor series. This is another series I've been really interested in getting, so I finally thought, oh, hey, I have some extra cash. I'll check it out. Especially now that John Hurt's passed, because I thought this would be a sort of great little way to honor his legacy by checking this out, and because also the War Doctor is someone I've been curious about. The War Doctor, through Big Finish, was a 4-part series that included Only the Monstrous. I just need to... Infernal Devices. Agents of Chaos. And Casualties of War. I haven't started this series yet either, so we'll see what goes on from there. Now, all I have left is this last project I was talking about, so I'm going to cut away for a second and get everything in order, clean up the mess a little bit, and then we'll go on from there. Alright guys, I'm back, and that last project I was talking to you about, or that last series, is Doctor Who Unbound. Now, this was a series that got my interest because it's not canon, and it's actually kind of fun because it focuses on these what-if premises throughout the series, and across these 8 stories, each story focuses on a different premise, and with the exception of one story, no one who played the Doctor in the canon reprised their role for this, which I thought was really fun. So I've listened to most of these too, and they were mostly really great. I'm planning to do a review series on them because I don't think enough people talk about Unbound, and I'll go into my thoughts more there. So the first story in the series is Ald Mortality, which stars Jeffrey Belden as the Doctor, and focuses on the premise of what if the Doctor never left Gallifrey? It also features Carol Ann Ford reprising her role as Susan. The next story is Sympathy for the Devil, another really good story. The premise here is, what if the Doctor had not been UNIT's scientific advisor, which was the premise of the third Doctor era. This series stars David Warner as the Doctor, who is a really good Doctor, and Nicholas Courtney reprises his role as the Brigadier. It also features David Tennant. Yeah, I found out before he became the 10th Doctor, David Tennant did a lot of these. And it features Mark Gatiss as the Master. Another good story. Next is Full Fathom 5. This one, like I said, not a lot of people review Unbound, but from the reviews I have seen, Full Fathom 5, blasted camera, may be considered the best of the series. And it is either my favorite or it's tied for my favorite. I'll get to that in a second. But I will say this, David Collings is my favorite non-canon Doctor. The premise of Full Fathom 5 is, what if the Doctor believed the ends justified the means? And that brings us to the fourth story in Unbound. He Jests at Scars, which is the premise, what if the Valyard had won? Like I said earlier, none of the Doctors who played their role in the canon reprised their role for Unbound, save for one. That is that one because this features Michael Jaston as the Valyard. Which, personally, I was excited for this story to listen to this because the Valyard is my favorite villain in Doctor Who. It's kind of a mess story. I have a lukewarm response to it, but I didn't think it was that bad. And next is Deadline, another story written by Robert Shearman, who wrote Jubilee. This story stars Derek Jacobi as Martin Bannister. Yes, that sounds a little odd, but the premise here is, what if Doctor Who never made it to TV? It's a very beautiful, very tragic story, and I also found out this was written for the 40th anniversary, along with Zagreus and the Villains trilogy. I actually think this is the best 40th anniversary story. And that brings us to number 6 in Unbound, Exile. Exile is the second story to star a female Doctor, who in this is played by Arabella Weir. The first story was a comedy sketch called The Curse of Fatal Death, where the Doctor was played by Joanna Lumley. And then, of course, this is followed by Jodie Whittaker as the canon 13th Doctor. The story here is, the premise here is, what if the Doctor escaped the justice of the Time Lords? So a little bit of insight into that. The War Games is the second Doctor's final episode. In fact, I think yep. There we go. The War Games. In it, at the very end, the Time Lords capture the Doctor, exile him to Earth, and force him to regenerate into the third Doctor. So the premise of Exile is basically, what if the Doctor escaped that fate? I'm going to save my thoughts on Exile for the review. And then the last two stories of Unbound are both sequels. The first one, the 7th release, is A Storm of Angels, and it is a sequel to Ald Mortality. So once again, it features Jeffrey Belden as the Doctor and Carol Ann Ford as Susan. The premise of this is, what if the Doctor changed history? even the tiniest bit. I'm actually not sure what I thought of A Storm of Angels. I think I'm going to have to give it a second listen. And finally, it is the 8th story, Masters of War, which is a sequel to Sympathy for the Devil. So once again, this features David Warner as the Doctor and Nicholas Courtney as the Brigadier. It also features Nicholas Briggs as the Daleks, of course, and Terry Malloy as Davros, again, who was my favorite. I'm not sure what the premise of Masters of War is, but to the best of my ability, because I did look around, I think it's what if the Brigadier had traveled with the Doctor? Which, yes, the Brigadier, even though I do consider him a companion, never really traveled with the Doctor, so I can't really give more thoughts on Masters of War because I'm currently listening to that one. But this has been my Big Finish unboxing. What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on some of these stories? Go ahead and leave a comment to start a discussion. I'd like to see what you guys think. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And this is Sir Jedi Sentinel, and until next time.